There was a poor repair on the 1980 Opel Kadett Historic Rally project car. It was just patched with a piece of metal which just peeled off, revealing the hole. So I cut that out with the angle grinder. I went for a triangular shape so that it would be easy to cut a repair piece to go in. I cleaned around the edges with the wire wheel on the grinder so that I could get my welds to bite. Then I'd make a little template with a piece of cardboard just taped up on one side, and then I would trace it with a marker on the other. My usual way. Cut that out and transfer it onto this piece of steel that I've been using for all these little repairs. Then I'm using a magnet through the heater matrix hole and place that on behind. That holds in the piece, and I just get a couple of tacks on it to hold it in place. Then I was actually able to reach through from the back and press it out, and doing it section by section to try and keep it flat with the original metal, using my hammer to tap it into position. Very light metal this, so it was distorting. Yeah, my first weld wasn't too tidy, but soon got going the way I wanted. Now just joining all the little bits. It'll all grind down pretty nice. So using a flap wheel there to get it down flat with the original panel on both sides. This will all be exposed in the rally car, so if either myself or the co-driver are looking down at our feet, we might see this. And I'm putting a bit of zinc primer on that to prevent it from rusting. And now I'm setting about cleaning all those stitch welds that I've done on the car. And it was only when I started into this I realised just how much work I've done on the shell now at this stage. That's the front engine mounting, which isn't on the later Kadetts as far as I've noticed. So glad to have it on this one, because the more anchoring I have for the engine, the better. I'd say they were being extra careful at the beginning of the car's run, as they wouldn't have had a lot of experience with front wheel drive motors. This was Opel Vauxhall's foray into front wheel drive and set the format for most of their cars for the next 30 years. So I'm getting the zinc primer over all that now that I have it clean. Just because this stuff's going to be waiting a while before I get the primer ahead of top coats on everything. And as far as I'm concerned, the more coats of paint, the merrier. I don't want to be revisiting this car for paint for a very long time. That's the gearbox mounting. And back to that front engine one, and that's a radiator bracket. And you know, when you think about it, a radiator feels light in your hands, but when it's full of water there's a bit of weight in it, and if that's getting shook about on rough roads, could be good to have it well held. These are the opposite sides to where I did the wells, and I did clean them off to prevent as much burning of all those sealants as possible. So yeah, I can see how well the wells have penetrated, and it's good to be treating both sides where I have access. And these are where the suspension points are reinforced back into the shell below the driver and co-driver's feet. I reinforced this bit that holds the steering wheel, because again there's going to be a lot of shock coming back through the steering rack on bumpy roads again. Working my way back along the sills. That's actually the top side of the structure that goes back out to the rear suspension, and that's why I did all around these rear wheel arches. There's pickup points on the top for the struts of those, so that was important to strengthen. I had to climb into the boot now to get at all of this. So they were an important thing to beef up. Need the wire wheel on the drill to get this bit along that outrigger that stretches back the second half of the car, with that spring cup mounted on it. That's the rear structure of the car, going around this rear stay support for the roll cage, and that created a lot of dust, which I am sweeping up with a brush and pan. Not high-tech stuff here. And now following along all those stitch wells with that zinc primer. That's a support for the dashboard, and again we might be adding a little bit of extra equipment and weight to the dash, so it could do with a little bit of strengthening. And there my mounting plates for the seat supports. Leading edge of the rear wheel arch that has the plates for the rear stays of the roll cage, and then this was a seat mounting that had to go on to this strengthened area for the handbrake. So that's getting the paint up into that rear box section and up the turret. Back of the rear roll cage support, and then these are bits that went up onto my metal bulkhead and parcel shelf, which makes this probably the stronger of the versions of this Opel Kadett D shell, and I think the most suitable for motorsport. And these stays might help it with a little bit of left-right strength. So then I went back over everything and gave it all a second coat. I feel like this is a little bit of a turning point in the project. Starting to add a bit of paint. The car is beginning to transform.